And welcome everyone to this week's episode of Craze's Corner. I'm joined by Jeff and Will today. We're going to be going over injuries, talking about how they impact your fantasy football lineup. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Doing all right, man. None of my players have gotten injured.
Well, lucky for you. Lucky for you.
Now you're jinxing everybody watching the show. Like, nobody wants to hear that. Just keep that thought in your head, man. Don't even say it.
So, Jeff, can we have a rundown of your team so we know who to avoid this upcoming week, please?
I do have Mike Evans as one of my starting wide receivers in the relegation league with Zach and a good friend, Seven. I forgot. I do have a casualty.
I've never felt so young playing fantasy football when being in that league. The IR spots, you have to actually be on IR. The auto fill for guys who are injured on Monday nights, they don't play with that. There's no fab system. We're playing full PPR. I'm like, come on, guys. I've been playing fantasy football with my dad's friend since I was 8, and I've never felt so young in the league. Like, why are we living so far in the past here? They're like, nope, this is how we do it. We're setting our ways, and I'm like, all right, guys, but come on, we gotta give it the time,
buddy. Old school fantasy, buddy.
Black and blue fantasy.
That's it.
Fantasy was tough.
Yeah, apparently, you got
back in the day.
They give you all these new options to simulate the NFL, where you have fab, where you can actually bid on guys, so it's not just the stupid 1 through 12 order. Makes it better. You got guys playing on Monday nights where it's like, they're questionable. It makes sense to have an autofill starter where you can just pick one of the guys on the bench to play for them. Guys are busy. People are working. They're not always paying attention. Can't be all the way up to date. Always on their phone.
Fantasy takes precedence over everything.
Nah. You guys, that league, you got to get with the times here. You're going to have a meeting with Seven in the offseason and be like, hey, here's all the features that are amazing for fantasy football. Maybe we should input some of them.
You're looking at doing an in-person draft and using paper.
Yeah, well, you can do that. I mean, that league probably not, because I'm not from the U.S. No way I'm getting down to L.A. for a draft. So that's a little bit harder to get behind. But, we got injuries in that league. I have, probably the biggest injury player-wise who is currently hurt, at the wide receiver position. That's CeeDee Lamb. Currently going to be out 0 to 4 weeks, maybe more. IR is a possibility. Who knows? Probably 3 weeks is around a safe estimate for CeeDee Lamb to be out. Hurts my relegation fantasy league. Seven had actually offered me a trade previously a couple weeks ago. It involved Jonathan Taylor coming to my team and Devontae Adams. Definitely should have taken it, but at the time, I wanted to stick with CeeDee. Looking back on it, dumb decision. Should have definitely taken that, but we're looking at a team now. The Dallas Cowboys have lost a couple offensive linemen to injuries. CeeDee Lamb is gone. Dak Prescott currently sitting at the quarterback 18 in fantasy at the moment. We're going into a game against Green Bay. Should probably not be a great game for them. So Green Bay, to me, I don't think you can start Dak without CeeDee Lamb. Jeff and Will, do you guys agree? No Dak Prescott in your lineup?
Not this game.
Yep.
You said Green Bay. You should have just said the Green Micahs are coming.
Yeah, Mike is coming. Mike is coming to get him.
Okay. Hold on. Can we just say if the Cowboys can keep it close in the first quarter, it'll be a game?
Yeah.
Because the emotion is going to do this, and then it's going to come down. They just have to survive the first punch.
Yeah, it'll be in Dallas, so, should give them hopefully a benefit of the doubt. Then they play New York, Carolina, and Washington. Carolina's been really good against the pass this year. So with the 3-game span that CeeDee is probably going to miss, are you comfortable dropping Dak, or would you rather keep him on your roster if you have the roster spot? What would you guys be doing?
I would still keep him. I mean, he's proven in the past when CeeDee hasn't been there that he's able to sustain that offense. So, with the exception possibly of this Green Bay game, I would start him against the other teams.
Yeah, I currently have him in one of my dynasty leagues. He's currently benched for a few quarterbacks here. I'll go through, tell you who I'm starting over him. Bryce Young's in my lineup over him this week against New England. Carson Wentz against Pittsburgh, also in my lineup over him. And Justin Herbert, obviously, is in my starting lineup over him. So for me, this week, definitely not. But I would, if you have the roster spot, keep Dak. If you don't, then you can let him go get someone that you can start better for your team this week. But his new wide receiver one, George Pickens, are we all comfortable starting George Pickens coming off back-to-back 15-point fantasy football outputs? We comfortable with George Pickens in our starting lineup?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's obvious that Pickens is still not the number one option, and that's now Ferguson. So
until they get to the end zone, because Ferguson cannot catch touchdowns.
Well, he catches a lot of balls though on the way to the touchdown. So, but he made a beautiful one-handed catch last week. Pickens did. He's got to throw to somebody. So.
Pickens in a contract year could go out. This is his opportunity to prove that he can be a wide receiver one. Are you guys interested in any of the Kevontae Turpins, Jonathan Mingos, Jalen Tolberts in your starting lineup, or are you out on them at least for this week against Green Bay? Any interest there, Will?
We're entering bye season soon, and you're going to go rosters. And I actually think if you can get Turpin, it could be a wide receiver 3 play if you need to fill a roster spot during a bye.
Especially if your league gets return points.
Yeah.
Which is something that's been added to a few leagues. Obviously not to the relegation league because we're about 100 years from getting that added to that league with the way the rules are going. But in some leagues you can get points for that this season or last season because of the new kickoff rules. Guys wanted to give them more value. We'll move same division. We'll move to the Giants. Just lost to the Chiefs barely. Tyrone Tracy gets hurt, and Cam Skattebo comes in, leads the team in rushing attempts, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, passing targets, catches, receiving yards, all of the above. He was the New York Giants offense. He looks as good as he did in college, which is something that people weren't sure if he was going to be able to break all the tackles, take all the hits, and do that at the NFL level, and he's clearly showing he can. So my question for you guys is, while Tracy's out for the next 2 to 4 weeks, are you starting Cam Skattebo every week because he's now a must start in this offense with the new quarterback in Jackson Dart? They'll probably rely on him, give him some dump offs. Is that because that's how I feel about Skattebo? I think you probably have to keep him in your lineup. You guys both feel the same way there?
I definitely do. It is important to note what the Chiefs were actually trying to do. It was just like anybody but neighbors. That's basically what it was. So, I don't take anything away from Skattebo. He did still have some tough runs. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, how defensive coordinators, plan to stop Jackson Dart. If they're going to do the no neighbors, or are they going to be like, we're just going to go ahead and come at you and anything coming out of that backfield. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens starting this week against the Chargers.
Yeah, it's definitely not the ideal matchup for your rookie quarterback to come into. They play the Chargers, and then the week after they play the Saints. For me, Cam Skattebo, he can block, which is great for him to be on the field. They'll probably give Devin Singletary an unnecessary amount of snaps, which is unfortunate. But I do think Skattebo he'll be kind of that security blanket. When you look at the tight ends for the Giants, they don't really have that one guy who's kind of established. And then you look at the wide receiver room, Wandale has been good underneath. And if defenses do, like you said, like the Chiefs did, where they take away Malik Neighbors outside of this offense, it's really Cam Skattebo and Jackson Dart that are going to be making plays. So I do like Skattebo. Will, anything you want to add on Skattebo?
I would keep him in. I think the only thing that worries me is if Dart does run, and I wonder if near the goal line, Dart, swoops in and maybe steals a couple touchdowns that would otherwise go to Skattebo. But I think you have to play him. What other choice do you have if he's on your roster? Especially if you had him handcuffed, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I think that's true. So we're looking at another running back. Well, maybe we'll ask this question. Who would you rather start this week? Tough matchup for Skattebo, and you have Trey Benson in the Arizona Cardinals playing on Thursday night against Seattle. He's now the RB1, was drafted in the second round a couple of years ago, has been underneath James Conner ever since, but now he's going to get his opportunity with James Conner's unfortunate ankle injury. That's going to keep him out for the rest of the season. To me, I would probably start Benson this week over Skattebo just because of the matchup. But next week, when you're looking at the Saints, I think I'd probably rather start Skattebo against the Saints. But I do like Benson rest of season. To me, he is a mid RB2 because he's going to get the volume. The Cardinals have shown that they're quite happy to just have a one big running back, let that guy carry 70% of the balls, and then have another guy kind of come in and spell him. And I think that's what Benson's going to do. I believe in Benson as a talent. He was my RB2 behind Jonathan Brooks in that year where they came out. The running backs weren't drafted super highly in that year. But I did like Benson coming out of college. So I think now he's going to get his opportunity, and I think that you can start Benson, and you should feel comfortable starting Benson going forward in your lineup now that Connor's gone. Hopefully, if you had Connor, you handcuffed him with Benson. And if you didn't, hopefully you had Benson on your bench because in most leagues, he was on someone's roster. Are both of you guys comfortable with Trey Benson in your lineups?
Yeah, I am. Look, it's hard, right? He's been sitting there as a number 2. I think a lot of people had higher expectations for him coming out of college, and now he got the chance to show it. I'm playing him.
I'm just looking at, hopefully, Murray's going to get the ball to McBride a couple of times to get them close to the red zone because the Seahawks defense, it's not like they're slouches either. And Marvin Harrison Jr. has not looked like the guy that everybody thought he was going to be. He might be their only option, but the Seahawks actually have a decent, run-stopping defense. So it's going to be kind of interesting to. I mean, they're not the Chargers, but
hey, look how good they looked against the Saints last week.
You have an offense that doesn't, look like it's really hitting on all cylinders right now because other than McBride, it really seems like there is no pass game. So,
yeah, I think that you
Spoon and the other Tariq Woolen. I'm just like you got to some decent pass defenders back there as well. So it's interesting.
I think Trey Benson kind of brings that big play ability where if you give him volume, he's going to break a big play. So even if he goes, right now he's averaging 6 yards per carry on the season, which is great. 23-year-old, amazing. So if he gets 20 opportunities, maybe 5, 6, 7 of those go for 1 yard, but then maybe one of them goes for 60, 70.
That's true.
And you're going to end up with probably a pretty good look back. And as you said, the Seattle secondary is pretty good. So does Benson get some opportunities, with some dump downs from Kyler Murray? Hopefully, another rookie guy here who's been amazing so far, Emeka Egbuka. We have an injury to Mike Evans, a hamstring injury, so we'll see how long that keeps him out for. Chris Godwin, not back yet, but was practicing fully, so he'll be back probably next week 5, when he's eligible to come back. But to me, Egbuka has kind of solidified his spot in this offense. You're looking now at a week where there is no Mike Evans, so this is probably a huge boom week against Philly, who they're going to have to score against if they want to win. You've been able to throw against Philly's defense. So I do like this specifically this week. Mike Evans is going to miss some time, and then Chris Godwin will come back, and Mike Evans will be back. But how are you guys looking at Egbuka? He's been a guy where I've seen a lot of people are trying to sell high on him. A lot of people are still trying to buy because, with Mike Evans out and Chris Godwin coming back from injuries, they think he can be. Right now, he's wide receiver 10 on the season. Do you guys see him finishing the season top 15, top 20? Where do you guys kind of have him slotted in?
Definitely top 20, if not top 15. I don't think it's going to drop off because I honestly, it's going to take some time for Godwin to come back from that ankle injury. I don't think he's just going to get back in these first couple of games and be like he was towards last year. And then you still got Sterling Shepard that's going to be in the mix a little bit. He's been getting quite a few targets as well. So, but I really like Egbuka, man. He's a real deal. Definitely.
And will you agree with Jeff there, 15-ish?
We'll see. I mean, the coverage is going to roll now, and he's shining bright, and he's had a obviously he's probably rookie of the year if he continues at this pace, obviously.
I mean, he's not leading rookies in receiving yards, so let's just throw that out there. That guy, Teteroa McMillan, he's leading the rookies in receiving yards.
Right. we will see if they roll coverage to him to take him away, how he responds to being a true wide receiver one.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys
Evans off the table now?
Are you guys spot starting Sterling Shepard or K. Doughton this week without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin if you need to start?
I am spot starting Shepard this week.
Yeah. I think especially if they roll coverage to Egbuka, they're going to have to throw the ball if they want to beat Philly. They're not going to be able to outrun Philly. That's not going to work. Right. Their run game not quite as good as Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. Hopefully we'll get to see some false starts called on that tush push play. Right. Maybe once every time they run the play, honestly, the ref should just throw the flag because they are false starting. Hopefully we can get that gone soon, or at least they can stop false starting and then they can keep running the play. I don't care that much that way, but at least if they're going to false start every play, throw the flags. Let's get this going. And one more injury that didn't happen this past week, but I think this week is a really important week to pay attention to it, and that's Jaden Reed with the Green Bay Packers. He is out for, a while with the broken collarbone. And then he had foot surgery on top of that as well. The reason why it matters so much this week is that they're playing the Dallas Cowboys. And Russell Wilson lit up the Dallas Cowboys. Caleb Williams lit up the Dallas Cowboys. Jalen Hurts didn't need to light up the Dallas Cowboys, but he could have if he wanted to. So that you're looking at probably the worst passing defense in the league. So I think that, you're probably going to get a big game from one of these Packers wide receivers. Will it be Doubs? Will it be the rookie Matthew Golden? Maybe Dontavian Wicks? My pick for this week, I think if you want to be conservative but still have that kind of upside, I would go with Romeo Doubs. He should be the wide receiver one for the team and should be more consistent. However, if you want to chase those long, deep touchdowns, and you really need a high ceiling, I think you put in Matthew Golden this week. I think you can start Matthew Golden. He got more involved last week, which is kind of what you would expect with the injury. So I think he had 4 targets for 52 yards. He had one play where he just ran out of bounds and probably could have scored, which is interesting. Looking back on the play, did momentum carry him out? Could he have made it down the field? So for me, I think you start Doubs, who was dropped a lot in a lot of leagues this week. He was on the field for almost 90% of the snaps last week. I think dropping him going into this game against Dallas would be a mistake. And I think you can start Golden. Either any preference there for you guys? Are you comfortable with either of them, neither of them? What do you feel?
Man, you can go get Jordy Nelson, Donald Driver, somebody out the stands. That Dallas Cowboys defense is horrible. So start them all. Whoever is on the field. Yeah, you got to remember Tucker Kraft too. So yep. I'm just like, there's every Packer there is. Start it.
I think that game's going to be really interesting, and I'd be careful on the Packers and the Cowboys. The emotions are going to be high. The reason I'm red flagging the Packers a little bit is what the hell happened last week.
Cleveland's defense is
actually good. That's the problem.
Okay. Yes.
That was a trap game. I don't think they prepared properly.
All right, we'll see. I would be a little leery of over speculating on the Packers because look, Love has these in key moments. Love makes mistakes, and this is a big game with the nation watching. I think all the hype. Love has a lot of pressure on him this game, and traditionally Love doesn't respond well to pressure. He's the Green Bay's version of Kirk Cousins.
Unfortunately, for that take, I think the Cowboys defense is just that bad. That he can look terrible and he can have a bad game, and they still probably score at least 1 to 2 passing touchdowns, even if he has a couple of picks. This is not really a pro passing game Packers take. It's more of an anti-Cowboys, and I'm targeting everyone that they're playing against. The only thing that does suck if you do have to pick one of these guys up on waivers is that the Packers are on bye in week 5, so that is kind of unfortunate, but I think you probably get a good thing, but maybe Jordan Love looks bad, but I think that the Packers were focusing on this game instead of focusing on the Cleveland game last week. and it showed. And we need to get some guys to learn how to protect field goals. I think that would be something that the NFL should maybe start looking at because
they shouldn't be going for field goals. That was the problem.
It's not even just this game. It was the Eagles game. It was the Bucks game. We're like, and then the Panthers kicker. He's got the average starting position of 21-yard line. I don't think you can do much better than that. So if you need a real good kicker, not for maybe field goals, but just for those kickoffs.
Yeah.
That was probably the best part of watching the Panthers game this past weekend was watching the kickoffs and how well that he was able to put the ball exactly where the Falcons had no idea what the hell to do with it. It was amazing. So there we go. There's some injuries, some guys that we are looking at starting in place of injured guys and what we think the fantasy impacts are. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys check out the Presser app. Virtual press conferencing app allow you to host a virtual press conference from your own phone. You can ask people questions. People can ask you questions. And there is monetary values involved with some of these questions. So you guys can definitely go check it out. You can ask me a question. You can ask Jeff a question. You can ask anyone on the app a question. So make sure you guys go check it out. Thank you, Jeff and Will, for joining me. And we'll see you again next week.
All right, Zach, take it easy.
Thanks, Zach.